Hey friends, thanks for clicking on this video, and as the title is letting everybody know, I'm experimenting with another wood source for making homemade black powder, and that wood source is Manzanita. Now, an early prediction. I'm going to stop everybody from typing right now. Yes, I am very well aware that Manzanita is a protected wood, okay? But you can legally obtain it. If it comes off private property, you shouldn't have any problems whatsoever. You can buy some on eBay and or Etsy, and it's also used in aquarium decorations. So if you don't have anybody that's got private property that's got Manzanita on it, or don't want to pay anybody's price on eBay or Etsy, you might want to check with your local pet store and see what they can get you a quantity of Manzanita for. But you might also want to check with your local Forest Service and see what the restrictions are of picking anything up that's dead and down. You might be allowed to do that. They just won't allow you to cut it green or anything like that. And the restrictions are greater in the communist state of California. So be very, very aware of that. But by the end of this video, I may not even want to use it. It may be, it may produce shit gunpowder. So let me give you what a little bit of research that I've done regarding Manzanita. And one of the things that caught my attention right away is that it is rot resistant, okay? Which would indicate to me, right or wrong, it would indicate to me that it would have a resin associated with it, much like Osage orange. Because you can, bury a piece of Osage orange in the ground for 100 years, dig it up, and you can still make a usable wood bow out of it. And as we've seen on this channel, it makes a very good clean burning gunpowder, but bear in mind, the specific gravity of Osage orange is 0.82, so your volume of potassium nitrate to your charcoal source, Osage orange, it's a significant difference compared to like Pacific willow and some of the others that we've experimented with. It burns hot and it burns clean, and it is considered a hardwood. Now, before I get on to what the specific gravity is, let me just explain this real quick. If you've been following this channel, you will see that I have a very specific way of charring my wood to get the charcoal. I don't overcook it. So what I do is I put it in a can, put it on a low fire, and I start letting it begin to char. After a little bit of time, I'll turn the can over. After a little bit more time, I'll turn it on its side, and I'll continuously move that can around so that I can achieve what I like to think is an even burn, okay? And I've showed in the past that by my doing that, I can get a real good dark chocolate colored charcoal, which is what we all should be striving for. At least that's what others indicate. But I will tell you, as much as I tried to get an even burn with this Manzanita, it still came out black. And that might be due to the resins that are associated with the wood, if that's a true statement. Because I couldn't find anything online indicating that, there was a resin associated with it, but it would have to have something along the lines of a resin to make it rot resistant, okay? Now, specific gravities. This is one of the reasons why I'm a stickler for looking at the specific gravity of any wood that I'm using, and in particular something new that I haven't experimented with. Because with a 12% moisture content, okay, Manzanita can go anywhere from 0.74 to 0.92. That's a large range to deal with if you're using it for black powder, because if you're gonna get some Manzanita that's on the higher end, closer to 0.92, you're only gonna have a little bit of the fuel source compared to other woods, such as Pacific willow. Well, you'll obtain somewhere around that amount of your fuel source. Okay, and in my opinion, you're over oxygenating that little bit of fuel source. So what I want to do now is I have some charcoal already sifted out, sitting in my jar, so that we can take a look at what this Manzanita in particular, how it's represented as far as specific gravity is concerned. So just so that everyone is aware, all my charcoals that I have sitting on my shelf, about a month ago I went through it all and I put it all in my ball mill so that it is now just a fine flour. Okay, so I don't have to run this through that microfilter any longer to strain out the bigger pieces. Alright, here we go. Right here is mullein, 75 grams, and as you can see, that's just a little bit heavier than the Pacific willow. And we know that the Pacific willow is supposed to have a specific gravity of 0.48 to 0.50. This right here is the Osage orange at 0.82. You can see, as far as fuel is concerned, that's not a whole lot of fuel compared to, say, the Pacific willow or even the mullein. And here is the Manzanita. Now, since we know that the Osage orange is 0.82 and the Manzanita ranges from 0.74 to 0.92, and since there's more fuel represented here, I am guessing that this is more along the lines of the 0.74. And let me get one of these containers emptied, and I'll put some potassium nitrate in it so we can look at the oxygen source. Alright, here we have our potassium nitrate, 75 grams in that jar. Here's the mullein, and we know that that's enough potassium nitrate to consume the mullein cleanly and efficiently. And we know that from what I've shown, it gets decent enough velocities at 80 grains by weight. Here is the Manzanita, and if you look real close, the potassium nitrate is above the level of the Manzanita, and this is the Osage orange. Now we know from past experimenting with it, that's more than enough potassium nitrate to consume the Osage orange cleanly, and it produces very good velocities. I'm not going to make any predictions at this point, because in the past when I've made predictions, I was wrong. But stick around and we'll find out together how Manzanita does as a homemade black powder. And I'm going to go ahead and make a double batch, because it takes just a couple more hours to do a double batch as opposed to a single batch. And if it does turn out good, burns clean, then I won't have to turn around and make a second batch. I'll have it already made. And if it ends up being dirty, well, then I'll just shoot it through my revolvers. Stay tuned. Well, I actually thought about not recording this, but to remain consistent, this is what the powder looks like after 33 hours. And I will tell you that at 29 hours up to this point, every 20 minutes, this gunpowder was caked that solid in my tumbler. So I'm going to finish getting this strained out, and I'll put a little bit on a wood block and do a quick burn test as it sets right here. You guys look at that, and as I shake it, you can see that it's still crumbling in little tiny balls, and that's telling me that this is thoroughly milled. Okay, now on to the burn test, and I will be test burning 30 grains, as this powder is just pulled right here out of this container. I'm going to do this one on a wood block, and then when I get done sizing it, pucking it, sizing it, then I'm going to do that burn on a piece of plate glass, because I kind of want to observe, well, whatever, I think you know what I mean, the difference between testing this on plate glass or wood. 2, 3, 30 grains, Manzanita wood. Alright, let me show you a close-up of the block. Well, that looks pretty clean to me. You rub it. That's what the finger looks like. But I can say all I want right now, because when this goes down a barrel of a gun, it could react totally different. I'm thinking right now it's going to be fairly clean, but I've been wrong before, so you'll have to stay tuned. I thought maybe some of you might find this of interest. I certainly am. I just showed previously, after the gunpowder comes out of the ball mill, how tightly compacted it is, and even when I work it through the strainer, it still remains in little fine balls. If you can pick it up, I've just moistened this up, and I've gone through it like this to incorporate the water and the acetone. And I've done this twice now, okay? If you look at this real close, let me get it into the camera, and in the sunlight, none of it is turning to powder. It's remaining in those little tiny balls as it came through the screen. Just thought you might find this of interest. As far as I'm concerned, and it's my opinion only, this has been thoroughly mixed at 32 hours. Okay, now on to the burn test. Here's a clean block. I'll be doing the side with the little green dot on it right there, if you can still see it. I'm going to do 30 grains now that it's grained, sized, and then I'm going to turn around and do 30 grains on a plate glass, and we'll do a side-by-side comparison if we can get any early indication what Manzanita gunpowder might do. Oh, that went up pretty good. Let me do the same thing on plate glass. Then I'll show you the side-by-side comparison. Okay, putting aside the smoky residue, and as you can see, you can wipe some of that off on your finger. I left some of it behind right here. But if you look at what's left behind after the initial burn, it looks like it's fairly clean burning. The little pieces of KNO3 are absolutely minute. Looking at it through the glass, it looks like it's fairly clean. And there again, as far as I'm concerned, I don't let this smoky residue concern me that much, just simply because most of that's going to get blown out the front of your gun barrel. Okay, so let me Yeah. It's pretty dirty. And I'm rubbing right where the powder burnt. It's quite a bit left behind, but again, that's on plate glass. And you can see I rubbed most of it away. So there's the block of wood. Fingers somewhat clean. Gonna rub it. Yeah, there's some fouling coming off. Yeah, my early guess is it's gonna be dirty. Yeah, there's quite a bit left behind on the finger. But it is only 30 degrees right now, and there's quite a bit of humidity in the air. And I'm not going to sit here and say, yeah, that's the reason why, until we get that down the gun barrel and look at the patches and shoot 5-6 shots. Then we can really make a true determination on what this Manzanita wood's going to do as a charcoal source for gunpowder. It might just be a bust. So just in case anybody's interested, and so that I can stay consistent, there's 80 grains by weight, and I'm hoping you can see that she's just a little above the 80 grain mark. I would probably guess maybe 83 grains if you were to really do a volume. All right, I'll get loaded up and let's go to do some shooting. Well, you guys see it like I do. 1850. I couldn't find that patch, but I will tell you, loading it with the short starter, it started off a little tough. I don't know if that's an early indication that this is dirty gunpowder or if it was just me. And in case anybody is wondering, yes, I'm using Manzanita for the flash pan. $17.35. That's a huge drop in velocity. I think I saw the patch. Well, there's the patch. And in my non-expert opinion, I would say that's fairly clean, with the exception on these edges right here. I can see where that powder was caked on a little bit. But the fifth patch will really tell what the true story is. So I'm going to get reloaded and just keep finding some information for you and for myself. $17.60. Let me see if I can find the patch. Okay, I found the first patch, and as to be expected, it's pretty clean. But you can see at 1,850 feet per second, they tend to burn through. I found the previous patch, and it's shredding. But I would say that it's a little bit cleaner than the previous one I found. And I'm glad to see the feet per second coming up a little bit. I may, when I get ready to sit down and do these numbers, I may just shoot a 6th shot and throw out that first shot, knowing that it went down a clean barrel. So, all right, I'll get reloaded. I'll turn the camera to the target and you can see where the bullet impacts. 1750. Well, I found that one. And looking at it, it really doesn't look any different than anything else after the fourth shot. I don't see anything caked on it like I did with the Pacific Willow. I would say it's actually burning a lot cleaner than I expected, and a lot cleaner than that second patch. Interesting. Okay, that was 4 shots, and I just loaded number 5. And I don't know what the problem was with that second shot that I loaded and said it was a little difficult, but this thing's loading up just as easily as everything else that I've shot. So I don't know, maybe I just had some extra string or something on that patch. Who knows, but she's loading pretty good. $17.19. $17.89. I didn't find the previous patch. I'm going to see if I can find this one. Stick around just simply because I'm going to run, I'm going to shoot 6 bullets through that 1860 Richards conversion. I have 6 cartridges that I reloaded with 5 grains, weighed out grains of Trail Boss 240 grain home cast soft lead bullet, and I did seat these down to 1.511. So as soon as I get things squared away here, I'll get, well, just stick around. Well, I found that last patch. It made it almost all the way to the target, but I will tell you, it's a little dirty. The unburnt gunpowder it's caked on there just like the Pacific Willow was. That's a little surprising to see one patch burn clean and then another one burn a whole lot dirtier. That's curious. Yeah, I'm perplexed. All right, I'm going to get things reorganized, take those 6 shots with that 1860 Richards conversion, and then I'll go wrap everything up in the shop. And there's a close-up of the target, 6 shots with Manzanita. Shot number 4 went out, but she's in a good group with the shot number 2 and 3. And all in all, she's not throwing anything wild, but that's what the target looks like. I don't have any target set up. I'm just going to shoot into the embankment because I just want to get some numbers. But as I get them, I'll call them out to you. .687. .686. 684. 721. 6. Looks like 672. Duplicate. Okay, get things packed up and we'll see you in the shop. Wait a tick. Let me show you the lock. 6 shots. And I would say she's a little on the dirty side. That's my impression. that came off the frizzen. Although I didn't have any problems with the ignition, but I don't know how well the sun's reflecting, but you can judge for yourself. In my opinion, it's a little on the dirty side. All right, so let's run some numbers by you. The 6-shot average was 1768, the high being 1850. And remember, that's going down a clean barrel. And the low being 1719 with extreme spread of 131 and a standard deviation of 42. Okay, deleting that first shot. Okay, we have a high of 1789, a low of 1719 with an average of 1750 with a spread of 70 and a standard deviation of 23. So all in all, that's not all that bad as far as Manzanita is concerned. My overall feelings about Manzanita, like Pacific Willow, I think it would do better blended to bring up the volume of it just a little bit more. That's just my personal take. Whether I do that sometime in the future or not, only time will tell. Right now, I'm not inclined to do that, but I may at some time. So what about the shots that I took with my 1860 Richards transition model? 6 shots. Well, I actually have to go 5 shots because one was a duplicate. But the 5-shot average was 687 with a spread of 49 and a standard deviation of 16. So once again, I think that speaks a little well of Trail Boss. Right now I haven't been able to find any, but fortunately I still have a couple 1-pound containers. But bear in mind, when it comes to Trail Boss, that 1-pound container's only got 9 ounces in it. So it's not a full pound, but it does tell me that when I go to reload those, at least 5 grains and 5 grains of powder, and then seeding with that bullet down to an overall length of 1.511 is going to do the trick. I may, load up sometime in the future, maybe some Type Bond and get some numbers with that, but right now I'm pretty happy with those velocities being better than 650 with that Trail Boss. And even one going up to 721. So anyhow, want to thank everybody for watching, and I hope everybody will have a happy Thanksgiving, happy holiday season, and I guess we'll catch you in the next video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up and share it with your bestest of buds. Bye.